Welcome back to Baker Street with Sherlock Holmes versus Jack the Ripper. In the last episode, we determined using mannequins what we think the killer looks like, or at least how he dresses, and his age and his height and such. And we now have to go to the newspaper.
Ah, Bulling is there. It won't hurt just this once.
What won't hurt? What's he going to do?
Hello, Mr. Bulling. So, did your colleague tell you about the tip?
What tip?
Ah, I see. I gave him an explosive tip and he went without you? Oh, that's not very sporting on his part. No doubt he took all of the credit for his discovery.
You're winding me up, eh?
I must show Bulling something to make him believe me.
And what would that be?
What do you want?
I'm not winding you up. The proof is that he gave me this advance on the debt.
The traitor! He owes me if I find him.
Before I leave, can you do me a favor?
Heck, tell me.
I'm looking for some reliable info on the murders committed in Whitechapel in the months before Polly Nichols' attack.
Reliable? Ha! You really think you'll find that here? Fine. I'll be honest with you. We have folders that group the dispatches from the current year into categories. In the police law category, you'll find the transcripts from the trials and investigations that we sell to the newspapers that ask us.
Perfect.
Sadly, I am out of time. I'll leave you to solve it, eh? You're the detective, aren't you?
Nice guy. All right, let's see what we can come up with.
The dossiers are full of papers in dated envelopes. I can't open them. That would be too obvious. How can I tell which compartment to look in? No categories are indicated.
Yeah, there's absolutely no labels. Oh, how are we going to do this? Okay, well, let's just start. Well, that's not going to work very well, is it? All right, well, I thought that if I placed one, something might come up tell me, but it doesn't. So let's put it back and see if we can find some clues somewhere. There's got to be some indications because there's no, well, what was that? What's this?
An envelope is torn. I can tell that this dispatch contains economic information.
Okay. Economy. All right, but none of this gives us any indication. So there must be other clues laying around. Let's see what we can find. Including looking in the garbage, maybe. Oh, there's something here. What's that? Letter to Ferdinand. I'm confirming my presence on Friday evening at the club. It will be with pleasure because I must get my mind off things or risk falling into a black depression. Just imagine the new laddie still has the favors of Janet, but she'll end up forgetting him and give in to me because I'm not lacking in ideas to get rid of her suitors. Yesterday, I randomly placed a few inventions and science with politics dispatches. After all, they're always harebrained items. Given that the compartments are one on top of the other, it could have easily passed as one of the new lad's errors, and as anticipated, he was called in by the boss. As soon as I have the chance, I will show him how, like in the news, everything's in the balance. He looks like a half-wit. He could easily confuse the politics with the society section on his right, and this latter with economy, which is its neighbor. What a lovely mess. I don't know how an intelligent girl like Janet can like a swat like him, but she doesn't have much long to smile. Okay, so there's a little bit of information here right at the end. He says something about he likes it. Okay, he could easily confuse the politics with the society section on his right, and this latter with economy, which is its neighbor. Okay, let's see if that tells us anything. So we're looking at the right-hand side. We already know where the economy is. Okay, so there's economy. And he said it was easy to confuse them. Okay, so it said that the politics and society were on the top, and that they both had economy to the side. So to be confused, they'd have to be together, right? So society here and politics here. All right, let's go see if we can find some more. To improve type dispatch filing, propose major info up high, except news in brief, minor info down low, except police. Law, God, I can't read this writing. Law, thus in future, propose also to invert news in brief, which is for the moment up high, and police law, which is actually down low. Furthermore, the weather section is almost always empty. Put it with news in brief. All right, let's see if we can figure this out. Okay, so that letter said something about the weather being almost always empty. So let's put that there. Then it said that the law was always low, but it didn't actually say where. Okay, so news and brief is at a high. Okay, that maybe over here. And law is always on a low. I'm just guessing at these, but we've got them, at least we've got them in the right row. Let's see what else we come up with. All right, now there was another note there. Those are probably not in the right spot, but at least they're in the right section. My dear George, your little brother has had some misfortune. My first week of work was very grueling. First, I was given a spot far from the stove, and I am very cold in the morning. Next, I have to sort through the dispatches, the most tedious and boring work imaginable. Once the work is done, I must take each envelope to the journalist in question, who won't even deign to look at me. Finally, at the end of the third day, the boss called me to his office to give me a sermon. It seems that I had mixed up the dispatches. I was so worn out that I could only protest half-heartedly. He gave me a second chance, so now I'm in a sticky situation. The only hopeful note comes from my colleague, Miss Filton, a charming young woman who is the only one to give me a smile. She helps me as much as she can and tries to prompt me regarding which compartment I should put my dispatches. Because everyone here knows the order of the sections, but no one has bothered to tell me. The lady has so much compassion and slides me notes such as policies and society are on the side Sports is underneath economy. Personalities is at the end of the row. Okay, so policies and society are on the side. Sports is underneath economy. Personalities is at the end of the row. Okay, let's try this a little at a time. Let's go back. Okay, so that note said that sports. I remember I told you police and law probably wasn't in the right place. It said that sports was under economy. Okay, then it also said that personalities had blue envelopes. So let's put it there. Now, there are blue envelopes here, but we already know that this is economy and this is politics. So the only other blue envelopes would be here, so that's got to be personalities. Okay, we left off up here that on personalities, that we sports and personalities. At the end of the row, personalities. Front page news is the first compartment, etc. And these confidences are almost words of love from her mouth. I don't think that she likes placing envelopes on the desks at all, because she ends up with some thanks that are very disturbing. I have volunteered for the task, much to everyone's displeasure. Nothing new concerning my landlady, but I managed to pay her for the week, and she consented to keep me. Don't say anything about my troubles to Mumsy. I don't want to alarm her, but not wanting to lie to her, I have chosen to not write. With warmth regards, your brother Albert. Okay, so the only other thing here would be the, where was it? Front page news is the first compartment. Okay, let's see if we can find anything else before we go on. Oh, here we go. What's this? Stevenson and C. Enterprises. It's a bill. Repair the wood of the news in brief compartment, £1. Payment received 12th July, 1888. Something in this typewriter? Sir, as the agency receives numerous dispatches, the filing system that you made appears to be too small, particularly for the world and society sections, which cover too much area and overflow into the boxes below. Police, law, and culture, respectively. Would you be able to furnish a device in order to keep only one filing cabinet? While awaiting your response, sir, please accept our best wishes. Okay, so we got quite a bit of information there. Let's go back. Okay, so this news in brief is not right. I don't think that's right. Let's take that out for now. Now, they said world was always full and overflowed to here, I think. So world would go there. Okay, so then this police and law that we said was not, it's down here, but I didn't know exact spot, but I think it's here because it said that world would overflow below it. And then culture under society, it said, because they overflow. Okay, and then this one goes here, I think. And then frontage, it said, was on the end. It said frontage was at the start. That only leaves one, which would be that one. Aha, what's this?
These envelopes contain dispatches of police and judicial cases. Now, I need to open them discreetly. I must try to unglue the openings.
And how are we going to do that? Okay, so how many times have we seen in movies and books when they have a sealed envelope, they steam it open? So we know we have a stove, and I think we have some matches. We just need to find something that would make steam. Oh, there's a bucket.
Water.
Oh, and there happens to be water in it. Okay. There. A teapot. That'll make some steam. Okay, so let's take the teapot. Can we put the water in the teapot? Yes, we can. And then we'll grab the teapot, put it on the stove.
There, that will provide me with steam.
Okay, now there's the steam. Let's grab the envelope and put it on the steam.
Open, and it looks like I'm in luck. This envelope contains precious information.
Testimony in the Smith affair. Day of inquest, Saturday, April 7th, 1888. Mr. Wayne E. Baxter, the East Middlesex coroner, held an inquiry on Saturday, 7th April, at the London Hospital respecting the death of Emma Elizabeth Smith, aged 45, a widow lately living at 18 George Street, Spitalfields, who, it was alleged, had been murdered. Chief Inspector West of the H Division of Police attended for the Commissioners of Police. Mrs. Mary Russell, deputy keeper of the common lodging house, stated that she had known the deceased for about 2 years. On the evening of Bank Holiday, 12 April, she left home at 7 o'clock and returned about 4 or 5 the next morning in a dreadful state, her face and head, which were much injured, one of her ears being nearly torn off. She told the witness that she had been set upon and robbed of all her money. Witnesses took her to the hospital, and when passing along Osborne Street, the deceased pointed out the spot where she was assaulted. She said that there were 3 men, but she could not describe them. Mr. George Haslip, house surgeon, stated that when the deceased was admitted to the hospital, she had been drinking, but not intoxicated. She was bleeding from the head and ear and had other injuries of a revolting nature. Witness found that she was suffering from rupture of the peritoneum, which had been perforated by some blunt instrument used with great force. The deceased told him that at 1:30 that morning she was passing near Whitechapel Church when she noticed some men coming towards her. She crossed the road to avoid them, but they followed, assaulted her, took all the money she had, and then committed the outrage. She was unable to say what kind of instrument was used, nor could she describe her assailants, except that she said that one was a youth of 19. Death ensued on Wednesday morning, 4th April, through peritonitis set up by the injuries. Margaret Hayes, living at the same address as the deceased, deposed to seeing Mrs. Smith in company with a man at the corner of Ferrant Street and Burdett Road. The man was dressed in a dark suit and wore a white silk handkerchief round his neck. He was of medium height, but witness did not think she could identify him. Chief Inspector West, H Division, stated that he had no official information on the subject and was only aware of the case through the daily papers. He had questioned the constables on the beat, but none of them appeared to know anything about the matter. The coroner said that from the medical evidence, which must be true, it was clear that the woman had been barbarously murdered, it was impossible to imagine a more brutal and dastardly assault, and he thought that the ends of justice would be better met by the jury recording their verdict at once than by adjourning to some future date in the hope of having more evidence brought before them. The jury returned a verdict of willful murder against some person or persons unknown. The police are making every possible inquiry into the case, but up to yesterday, 8th of April, had not any clue to the persons who committed the outrage.
The information excludes the murder of the first woman, Miss Smith. Jack the Ripper can't be the author of that crime. On the other hand, there are enough similarities to suggest he may be the killer of Martha Tabram. I must go to the pet shop.
Okay. Do we just leave the tea boiling? Seems kind of dangerous.
Closed.
Oh, wrong door.
I must go to the pet shop.
All right, going to the pet shop.
I must go to the pet shop.
Yeah, I know you said that already.
Closed until further notice. Abraham isn't there. No luck.
Beep beep.
Good evening.
Oh, good evening, sir.
It's the beep beep guy. Why are you
Do you
closed?
know why Mr. Solomonich's shop is closed?
No, I don't. Perhaps his cousin the cobbler knows. But I believe the police came to take his animals. I think that might have something to do with it.
When was this?
During the day. The kids you were with the other day were there, they told me. They just came by to ask for some cat's meat. They didn't have any money, but I gave them some anyway.
Is something wrong?
Is something wrong?
It's just that there was a little girl with them, the same age as mine. My little girl who went away with her mother, with the angels into the sky.
Dr. Watson told me about your loss. Please accept my condolences. Would you like to talk about it? How did it happen?
The illness, sir. My poor little girl was in agony, and her face and body were ravaged by the disease.
Her face?
Yes, she looked like a ghost.
Guess what kind of illness that sounds
What
like.
illness was it?
Dr. Gibbons tried to explain when I took my little girl to see him, but I didn't understand. I'm sure that he was trying to insinuate it was my fault. I'm sorry, but I don't want to talk about it anymore.
I understand. Farewell. Let's go and
Pretty
see
sad.
Dr. Gibbons.
Pretty sad all the way around. Okay, so we need to go to the clinic.
Let's go and see Dr. Gibbons. Hello, Doctor. Do you remember me? I'm Sherlock Holmes, Dr. Watson's friend.
Oh, yes. Excuse the mess, but I am doing a bit of tidying.
All right. I want to talk to you about the cat food man.
I have come to see you about a Mr. Hardyman, a cat food seller by trade, who recently lost his daughter and wife.
Yes, I know him. A tragic story.
Can you tell me about the disease?
Actually, I was hoping you could tell me about the disease that took his daughter, a disease that would have attacked her face.
Well, to keep it short, we are speaking of syphilis, Mr. Holmes. You must certainly know that it is transmitted through intimate connections, and that the vast prostitute population here contributes to its inevitable progression. It destroys individuals by spreading through the body slowly. The most obvious symptoms can be found in the genitalia and on the face in the form of pustules or lesions. Sometimes this illness can destroy whole families. The father catches it from a prostitute, he transmits it to his wife, who in her turn passes it to the kids which she bears or nurses. These cases are numerous in the vicinity. Certain children, and this is the case of the little girl whom I won't name, suffer from an emaciation of the face which will, apart from predicting an imminent death, bring infamy upon the family.
Sounds really horrible.
Emaciation of the face?
Yes, what we sometimes call the pox. I will give you a photograph. One cannot be mistaken on the origin of such a face. The eyes seem to be void of lids. The nose is inexistent, as if it was cut off. And the cheeks are chiselled, as if cut with a knife. This loss of facial matter, this emaciation, is, in this area, often the gift from a father to his children.
Okay.
Can I keep this photograph?
I should destroy it. But if it can remind you that one must sometimes think twice before giving in to physical attraction...
I always seem to find myself alone in such cases. Thank you, Doctor.
Okay, so that what he's describing is one of the murders, if you remember, had the eyelids cut off, the cheeks slashed, and the nose taken. That's terrible.
Let's go to the cobbler's.
All right. And where would that be? I don't know if I know where the cobbler is at. Butcher shop. Cobbler shop.
Let's go to the cobbler's. Hello, Mr. Solomonovich.
Ah, Mr. Holmes, how are things with you?
I heard your cousin Abraham had a problem with his shop. What happened?
Ah, if I didn't know you well, I would tell you that it's Jewish business that doesn't concern anyone but the Jews. But as you have a little bit to do with it, you have the right to know what is going on.
Ah, would I have something to do with it?
Someone had seen Abraham telling you something and making big gestures near the Imperial Club. A vicious rumor quickly spread, and it has caused him great injustice. A slanderous denunciation attracted the authorities' attention to my cousin's shop. Abraham must be in the process of answering their questions.
I did, indeed, speak with your cousin the other night. I'm shocked at the consequences of this discussion.
As I was saying, it's the story of the Jews. In the face of adversity, we are united, but amongst ourselves, it's like anywhere else. As soon as our people take a dislike to someone, for right or wrong, we can be without pity and quite cruel.
This is all very worrying. Your cousin knows one, or rather two, of the men who were at the Imperial Club on the night of the Mitre Square murder. One of the two, a butcher in Aldgate named Joseph, is probably withholding information of the utmost importance. I must find this man. Perhaps you can help me.
But there are dozens of Jewish butchers around Aldgate, half of which must be called Joseph. And you know, Mr. Holmes, we Jews prefer to remain in the background of this murderer business, this Jack the Ripper thing. All of London is pointing their fingers at us, saying, "It's a Jew who disemboweled these women." Our community is in great peril, you know. There was the business with Lipski and Leather Apron. I will see what I can do, but I don't promise anything.
I'd be extremely grateful to you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Very well. We may meet again, Mr. Solomonovich.
You are most welcome, Mr. Holmes.
I've paced up and down Whitechapel enough. I should return to Baker Street in order to reflect on the new facts that I have discovered.
All right. Home again, jiggity jig. Baker Street, October 15th, 1888.
Hello, Holmes.
Yo, Watson.
Good day, Watson.
Listen, Holmes, I know I should have got here sooner to give you a report on my research, but this case has led me to neglect my patients and my wife more than I care to admit. I've been able to sort things out over the last few days, and now I am ready to pursue this investigation.
You don't have to justify yourself, Watson. Whilst I do tolerate you as an observer, and despite your occasional help with more menial tasks, may I remind you that you are by no means an indispensable part of this case.
Oh, you tolerate me as an observer, do you? Oh, you're too much, Holmes. Well, Mr. Detective, despite my absence, I have been working on this case, putting my relationship on the line in the process, and I happen to have a confidential letter that only passed from one lord's hand to another. What it contains is extremely serious and concerns Dr. Tumblety and his collection of uteri.
Let me see that.
My lord, be hereby assured of my entire collaboration in this affair, to which I must reply, no one will be able to cast opprobrium on our institution, or ourselves. Our eminent colleagues support our policies, and they won't cooperate with the police as long as the higher interests that we serve aren't menaced. As you mentioned, we must avoid having to explain to the uncultured masses the exigencies of medical research. A general crisis of confidence will result in inevitable amalgamation that the press would hasten to create between this and the hideous murders committed in the East End. To this end, I tactfully evoked the rumor that you mentioned in your letter when I met with my colleagues. It turns out to have grounds, and these are the specifics that I was able to obtain. 18 months thence, an American doctor in London did in fact contact certain hospitals. His approach was aimed at getting stocks of feminine genitalia, particularly utera. He was motivated initially by the finalization of his research and of its publication. The doctor in question wanted to include a uterus specimen freshly conserved in formalin with each of the research dissertations sent to each of the colleagues involved. A large quantity was thus necessary, and this doctor proposed to buy each of the uteri for £20 each. The hospital directors did not pay heed to these demands. Of that I have been assured. Between you and I, my lord, who knows what strange consequences would have followed these demands of the American doctor? The rumor of these unusual commissions made the tour of the hospitals in question at the time and has spread to others since. Simple day laborers employed in our organizations considered that the gain of £20 would justify a theft, perhaps worse. The identity of the doctor is unknown to me, but based on the recall of one of my employees. Based on the recall of one of my colleagues, this man had the most impressive references. But after a bit of research that I did, I didn't find the existence of any publication with an eventual correlation on this or the other side of the Atlantic. The man left London shortly after his pitch, it would seem. I cannot help but think that he has perhaps returned to London and has found someone who might furnish him with what he's looking for. Interesting.
Excellent. This American could turn out to be of great use to use.
That's right, and that's not all. I did some research and finally found an illness that affects the genitalia and can, in certain cases, cause facial symptoms resembling the mutilations seen on the last victim. It is called, would you believe?
Syphilis and the emaciation that can be seen in affected children. I have known that for days, Watson.
Really?
Listen, now you're already here, Watson, we may as well continue the investigation. Do you remember the map on which we established the area in which our killer lives? I think we should continue our study.
Okay, so I think this is a good spot to take another break. We'll continue on in the next episode. Hope to see you there. Ta-ta for now.